Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I know you guys haven't seen me here for a bit. For those of you who don't follow me on Snap or Insta stories and you're not really if you're wondering, you know, what happened to Donella, or I ain't seen the upload or anything like that. My equipment received some water damage earlier this month, or it might have been at the end of September, I think. I'm not really sure, I'm not certain. I feel like it's been forever, but anyway, it received the water damage shortly after I uploaded the last video here on YouTube. So yeah, that should kind of give you guys a little idea as to how long I've been dealing with this problem. I really have been trying to seek other alternative as to how I could keep my uploads kind of flowing frequently here on YouTube. However, I've not really been having much luck but you know, there are other devices that I can record on. The only issue I'm having is, you know, editing the videos and uploading them here on YouTube. That is a problem that I'm having right now. So I have equipment to record it, but I don't have equipment to edit it. So I had to explain all of that to my viewers on Instagram, Snap, etc. So it has been bugging me for some bit because I've gotten comfortable with, you know, recording videos and talking to you guys and so forth, but I don't know, but lately I feel like Satan has got my name to the top of his list. Like he really has been antagonizing me. But you know, a little bit of prayer, a little bit of faith and hope and all of that, I'm just trying to put him like right behind there where he belongs, or as the old people say, underneath my feet. But anyway, as you guys can tell from the title of this video, we're not here to talk about that. We are here to talk about how I slay my bros. So if you guys are interested in learning how I achieve these bros on a daily basis, then please stay tuned. All right, so right now you're about 2.5 centimeters away from my pores, but never mind that. We're here to talk about pores. We're here to strictly talk about sculpting our eyebrows, or the way that I sculpt my eyebrows. So the first thing I want to do is to talk about tools. Now I know some persons prefer to use the brow gel, whether it's a dip brow from MAC, whether it's the gel pot from Anastasia Beverly Hills, whether it's those from NYX, you know, pretty much almost every brand, whether it's high-end or low-end, or drugstore, whichever one you want to call it. Pretty much everybody has like a gel and a pencil, because you know some persons prefer to just kind of use the pencil to sketch out the brow and then use the gel to fill the brow with. Now for somebody like me, I've done it all, and I've realized the only thing that works for me is to just simply use a pencil, and that's strictly because I have oily skin, and usually whenever I use like a gel product in my eyebrows, it tends to look all sweaty and I don't know how to describe it. It looks sweaty and all waxy and stuff, so I tend to just stick to a pencil. Now the pencil that I normally use is this one from Revlon. It's called the Color Stay Brow Pencil, and I usually use the shade black brown. However, I am out of it. So usually whenever I'm out of this and I can't really find it right away, I usually go and use my backup, which is one of these pencils. I'm sure you guys have seen these around town, whether it's in Lucky's, Kingdom Here, whichever. These are probably like really good. The only thing I wish is that this was in the form of this, because I think I prefer to use like a screw up pencil versus, you know, one that has to be sharpened. I just feel like, you know, it's kind of messy and the shavings get all over the place and what's not. But usually I would sharpen my pencil like this because I need like a really pointed pencil to sculpt my eyebrows out. Before I actually sketch the eyebrows out, I would use a spoolie. Sometimes I usually just take the spoolie from this pencil that's out, and then kind of brush my my eyebrow here in place. And this is where good sketching comes in. Or if you took art in high school, this is where this part comes into play. Now I usually just follow my natural piece broke off. I usually just follow the natural shape of my brow, which is what everybody's supposed to do whenever you're sculpting out your eyebrows. Now I know there are some persons that have much thinner eyebrows and they prefer to kind of go up, maybe to give themselves the look of a bigger brow, but I like to stay with what the good Lord has blessed me with. I don't need anything bigger because I don't know, I think it might look kind of scary. So usually I just sculpt my brows out by simply just following my natural brow here, and then I would just sketch like a small bit of it just right here, because my natural brow here is actually in here and I feel like it's a little bit too short for the shape of my eyes. So I usually just go just like probably like a centimeter more on the outer portion, just so that everything looks a little bit more balanced. And then I would go at the top portion. Usually whenever I'm sketching out the top portion, I always start from what do you call this area right here? Your natural arch. Yes, I usually start from my natural arch, and then I would kind of just sketch it downwards. I don't go all the way down. I kind of just leave it right there, and then I would go in maybe a quarter of the way, sketch my arch out. I would just kind of go in every millimeter of the way to sketch the rest of the brow, so that everything kind of connects like a straight line. And then once I have everything connected from here straight up to the arch, then I would make like a connecting line to connect everything together, and then I just drag it downwards to connect the other line to the rest of the body. And that's pretty much how I sculpt my eyebrows out. Nothing bigger, nothing smaller. This is the natural shape of my brows. And then what I would normally do, I'm using this eye as an example because I feel like this is my good brow. You know, everybody has a good side and a bad side. I feel like this is my good brow, this is my bad brow. This is the one that always just gives me 10 more minutes of trouble. So I always do this one first, because I know this one is, I'm just gonna take maybe like a good 2 minutes on it and then I'm done. Now as I was saying before, I know some persons usually use a pencil to sketch the eyebrows out, and then they would fill it in with the brow gel, but I don't do that. I usually just use a pencil to do everything. So I usually just kind of angle the pencil like this, and then I like to start from the tip or the tail of the brow, whichever one you want to call it, to kind of fill in the spaces that you see in between, because it kind of looks weird. I mean, you want your brows to look like natural here, but you still want it to look perfect or close to perfect. So that's what I normally do. I would fill in the brow from the tail portion of it, and then what I would do is just angle the pencil like this way. So then I would start filling it in from the bottom and just kind of pushing the color upwards to meet the rest of the hair. So this is actually how I fill my eyebrows in. And then if I still see a little bit of space going on in between, then I would angle the pencil like this one more time, and then just basically sketching the spaces in between. And then what I would normally do is go back in again with my spoolie and just basically blend the pencil that I just push upwards into my natural hair, so that everything is blended together. I pay more attention to this area right here, because this is the area that you really want to look like here. I mean, you want the entire brow to look, as natural as possible, but sometimes you have to pay a little bit more attention to this area right here. And then sometimes I usually just go back in with the pencil just to make sure that my arch is as arched as possible. You don't necessarily have to do this. This is just me just making sure that my arch is to its full length, basically. And yeah, after that, then I just go back in with the spoolie, and then I just brush everything together one last time. And then this is where the fun part comes in, using a concealer to sculpt out the eyebrow. So now that we have our two brows filled in, the next step would be to basically apply a concealer to sculpt the eyebrows out. If you want your brows to be a little bit more defined, I know there are some persons who are okay with having their brows just filled in. They don't need any concealer or anything. They're just fine with filling it in with a pencil or a brow gel, sorry, and they're okay. By the way, the one thing I forgot to mention about the pencil is that I know some persons have super dark brows and persons would tend to reach for a black pencil. No, there are many rules when it comes to makeup, and applying a black pencil to there are many makeup do's and don'ts when it comes to makeup, and applying a black pencil to your brows is definitely a don't. Now I know some persons that actually do it, but they do it really light-handed. Brown shade of pencils are still a little bit too light for your liking, and you want something that's even darker. Maybe you have like super jet black brows and you feel like, hey, I need something that would really make my brows stand out. From my point of view, I feel like if you have super dark brows, then you would want to use a lighter pencil, because if you go darker on your brows, then you're just going to darken your eyebrows, and then it's going to look like really thick and nasty and scary. So I would definitely say, if you're a first timer, or if you're somebody, you know, who love just to do your brows, because I know there are some persons who don't really like the whole full beat. They just prefer to just have a nice sculpted brows on their some nice sculpted brows on their face, and they're cool with that. Please remember to either use a brown or a dark brown pencil, or in my case I use the Revlon black brown, which is like a darker shade of brown. It has a little bit of blackness in it, but it's not like too black. Like, I use it a lot, but sometimes they sell out like really fast, so then I would have to use the Gabriella pencils as a backup, and this is actually dark brown, the Gabriella pencils. All right, so we're talking about concealers. Now I know in some cases persons tend to forget that whenever you apply a light shade of concealer up here, it's gonna be really hard to blend out, especially if a bit of the concealer gets between your natural brow hairs. I'm telling you, it is such a big problem for you to blend it out. So I tell people, you know, it's so much easier when it comes to blending out the concealer that you use in your brows if you actually use a concealer that is your skin's actual complexion. If you can't find that, find something that is as close as possible to it. Now, y'all know I've been snapping about it. I've been talking about this product ever since I started using makeup on my face. It's the MAC Pro Longwear concealer. I usually use the shade NC50. That is the closest thing to my skin's complexion, and I use this to sculpt my eyebrows out. Now I know they have those that come in the pot, and I know they have the concealer palettes which I use on my clients, but for me personally, I use the Pro Longwear in this container to sculpt my eyebrows out. And I'm just going to show you guys, I only use like a pea size amount, because you really don't need a lot. Even this right here, I find is too much. Like, I always try to squeeze out just a small bit. Okay, so let's get into the actual sculpting out of the brows with concealer. You know, as I was saying before, I find that even this amount of concealer is a little bit too much, but I'm going to make the best of it and just use the excess to tap beneath my eyes and on my lids, etc. So what I normally do, I take my Mikasa concealer brush, and I usually just dip the tip of the brush right into the concealer, and I make sure that the tip is especially saturated. I try not to get any of the concealer down in this area here. I try as much as possible to make sure that the tip is what's saturated with the concealer. So this is the one that I'm using for demonstration, because this one is yeah, that's the hella one that gives me some serious problems. Okay, so normally I know some persons like to start from here, but what I like to do is probably start maybe like 2 centimeters away from the gap right here, to fill the eyebrows in. To sculpt the eyebrows out with the concealer, and then I'm just following my natural brow shape, and then I'm just dragging the concealer all the way out. And then what I'm going to do is to basically flip the brush and then take the excess to just sculpt out the outer portion right here, and then I'm just going to start dragging down whatever leftover concealer downwards and outwards, so that I don't have that really harsh line that's left between the here and I'm sorry, I need to get a little closer, I'm sorry. to the mirror because I feel like I can't see. Just drag the excess concealer down in your brow bone area, and once you're using a concealer that's your skin's complexion, it's going to be so much easier for you to blend it out, even if you have a little bit of it left over. And you know, if it's your skin's complexion, it's still gonna look fine. But if you use something that's, let's say for instance, maybe you're a mocha and you use a concealer that's maybe like an ivory or a toffee or something like that to sculpt your eyebrows with, honey, you're going to have some serious problems when it comes to blending that out. So you see, simple as that. You don't need a ton of concealer and you're good. Now I'm going to do the same exact thing to the top area. Normally I would just leave my top like that, but just for, you know, filming purposes, for persons who may want to know how would I do the top area, I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm just going to dip the tip of the brush in the concealer, and then I'm going to start from here. And this is what I normally do whenever I'm doing the top portion. I like to kind of just take the excess of the concealer and kind of just rub it there, just to make sure I didn't have like too much on the brush. And then maybe some of the concealer might get caught in my natural brow here, and then I might have some problems blending it out. So I like to kind of just dust off the excess concealer that I think the brush may have picked up, and then I just basically just drag it along the top portion until I get to my arch, and then I go downwards to, and then of course I have to come back here just to make sure that I have that clean line right there where both points meet. And then of course, you know, if I see like the concealer that I put on the top portion of my brows is not blended in, then I would just go back in with the same concealer brush and just drag it this way and then outwards and up, so that whenever I apply my foundation, or if I already have my foundation on, then it just blends in. So that's basically it, you know, no excess, no lot of blending here and there and trying to make sure. Now normally I would take the spoolie once again and try to just brush the hair in place. You know, if you use a concealer that's your skin's complexion, it's really not going to take that much time to blend out. And also, while I'm still here talking about matching brows, now I know some persons like to do that whole unibrow thing. What I would normally do, what I would suggest is that, say for instance you've done this brow first, what I would do is kind of like measure. So then I would do like this, and then I would be like, okay, so I need to start from here so that both brows are basically on the same angle. So whichever eyebrow I start with first, I'm going to use it as a measure, basically as a measurement, to make sure that both of them are going to be on the same angle, instead of actually having all that excess concealer. Just to eliminate all of the excess concealer, and this is basically just so that, you know, both of the brows are at the same angle, they're both the same size, height, everything. So this is how I measure my brows, just to make sure that everything is on the same angle. And then, you know, this is a problem brow, so I have to do this off camera because you guys are gonna be wondering what the heck is going on. So let me do this one off camera. Now that I have both of these brows here, same height, size, etc., sometimes it's okay to go back in with the pencil once again, you know, just to make sure that you cover all the areas that you want to cover. You know, sometimes when you're doing it in between, you might be like, hey, you know, there's a little spot here, let me just cover that with a little bit of pencil. But always use a very light hand. You really don't want your brows to get too dark and too muddy, so it's okay to use a very light hand. You guys realize I'm just basically touching the area just so that the color fills in. I don't want my brows to look super dark, you know. And if you guys notice, there's a bit of a boxy thing going on right here, and this is like the last step to how I get my brows to look as natural as possible. I like to use my pinky finger to just kind of eliminate the pencil mat that I put there in order for me to sculpt out the eyebrows. And you know, the hair here the hair that's here at the beginning of your brows, it actually is supposed to look more like here. So I like to just take my pinky finger and just kind of just remove the excess line that I placed there to get my brows to look even. And then I would take the spoolie once again and just brush the hairs back in place. And this is pretty much how I get my brows done almost every single day. Well, let me not say every single day. On days when I have good brow days, this is my routine. And see, this is what I was talking about. I knew that I put way too much concealer. I pumped out way too much concealer, so I'm just going to take the excess and just dab it below my under eye area. Just going to use this to conceal the darkness. Guys, realize, look at this and then look at that. Yeah, my under eye area is so dark, so I always have to conceal it. And then I'm just going to take the excess, because there's still more in my hand, and I'm just going to rub it across my very dark eyelids as well. I have dark eyelids too. And I'm just going to take a brush to dip up the excess and just blend that out so that everything looks concealed and secured and in place. And it's amazing how your face just lifts once your eyebrows are done properly, and you add your shadows and everything else. Your brows just look popping. Okay, so I just added a bit of light beach, just to kind of pull everything together, so I'm not really just wearing brows, and I have absolutely nowhere to go. So I'm not gonna take this down. Actually, I do have to go to the supermarket, so I'm just going to go to the supermarket with my makeup on. Then I'm going to come home and make something to eat with my makeup on. Then I'm going to go outside to clean the porch with my makeup on and give my makeup a good 3-4 hours of wear before I decide to take it off. If you subscribe to my channel, please be sure to click that subscribe button on your way out, and also be sure to click the bell button down here. It's somewhere down here next to the subscribe button. I think I mentioned at the beginning of this video the problems I've been having in terms of equipment, and I'm really trying to have my uploads to be as frequent as possible, but given the current problem that I have, I'm kind of jumping through some loopholes here and there, so hopefully I can overcome that little obstacle as soon as possible. But in the meantime and between time, man, I sound like a DJ, but in the meantime and between time anyway, in the meantime, I really hope that you guys did enjoy this video and you did actually learn something in terms of how to groom your brows. If you did, please be sure to drop me a comment down in the comment section, or if you just want to ask me any other question related to how I sculpt my brows, if you have a question with any of the products that I use, please also be sure to drop me a comment down in the comment section. Until my next upload, I'll talk to you guys real soon. Bye bye.